understand. They really want them to have enough information to want to sit down with you and have a one-on-one. So that's what the purpose of that was. And frankly, I had a real clear picture of what everybody here did. So that's very, very helpful. So today we have Lucinda Ruck. And she has been here before. Before we started doing the Facebook Live and whatever. But how many of you are on LinkedIn? Okay. How many of you, if you're on LinkedIn, are really proud of what I would find if I go look for you on LinkedIn? Okay. There's a few of you that I would probably say, if I looked at it, that yeah, that's pretty cool. And as I told people on Wednesday, most of you suck. So I mean, I want to tell you what I really think, right? So, but today, Lucinda, one of the reasons why I've asked her back is she provided a huge amount of value last time. She's got a great service and the things that she does, and she's going to share with us today how to link for success. Basically, if people look at your LinkedIn profile, do they say, this person is in business, or are they an amateur? I think that's what the headline I put on the meetup event. So she's had over 30 years of experience as a business consultant, and I'm going to read some of her background just so that we get it here on the video and the people on the Facebook that may not know her as well as I do. She's worked with Fortune 100, Global 500, Inc. 5,000 clients. She specializes today in LinkedIn. So part of it is we can't be experts on everything. Why we do this on Fridays, why we have these BGN talks, as we call them, is because we all need to kind of learn things that we don't know, because we don't know what we don't know. So she's a national public speaker. She's hosted socially savvy social media seminars and hosted the co-founder of LinkedIn as a keynote speaker. She's really only one of 8. One of the things that jumped out at me here is that in the nation who is IA certified in LinkedIn. I'm not sure what is IA. You can tell me what IA means. What does that mean?
Integrated
Alliances. Okay, so she's IA certified in LinkedIn. She was trained by Mike O'Neill. I don't know if anybody knows Mike. I actually know of Mike, and I think I actually know Mike from the past, but anyway, maybe it's a different Mike O'Neill. He was the first person and one of the co-founders of LinkedIn. So that's probably where I know him from. So, but she contributed to his first book, and she is achieved the top most recommended on LinkedIn in 2009. So in January, LinkedIn accredited her as in the top 1% of those that have been viewed. And those are all things that I think if you're on LinkedIn, and you should be on LinkedIn if you're in business, that those are the things that you want to do. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Lucinda, and she's got I'll do some of her housekeeping. She's got a survey here at the end she'd like you to fill out and give her some feedback. There's a card here if you want to get in touch with her, and then some other information on some things that she'll offer us at the end. So with that, Lucinda Ruck.
All right, thank you. Thank you. Thanks for inviting me. And thanks for those who are return visitors. Some of you guys were here last year when I spoke, right? Who are you in the audience? Raise your hand. Yep, about half. Okay. All right. Well, I have some special slides here today for you. So with that, Dave gave a great background of, what's my background, why am I in this? I'm in this, the reason why I got into LinkedIn is to help small and medium-sized businesses grow their businesses. And when I started in it back in 2008, LinkedIn was only thought of as a job seeker social media network. Just connect resumes to job openings. But I sat through Michael Neal's class, and at the end of his first class, and then I went on and took the next ones, but at the end of his first class, I looked at it and I said, well, this is like a free website for businesses. Why aren't they out there? So when the 4 of us coming out of Mike's class went back to, we were all business coaches, we went back and we asked our business owners, are you on LinkedIn? Have you heard of it? And out of 110, we got 4 sort of, maybe, thinking they'd been there. And that's what made me decide to go forward and actually specialize more on LinkedIn. So I used to be 80% business coach and only 20% LinkedIn. Well, in the last few years, I have flip-flopped because people have caught on to what LinkedIn is all about and why they should be on there. Some haven't caught on yet, and I'm like looking for those because I want to show them what they can do. Here's Michael Neal, and that's the one that LinkedIn, the corporation, the original 5 founders stepped out and asked Michael Neal, would you like to do training for us? We, as LinkedIn corporate, we don't want to do any training. We want to focus on building out the product. And you can see the benefit that put with them. Mike's been featured in the Forbes top 50. He's been featured in the top 25. He's been there almost every year since, I think, 2004. So 2014. So he's always been up there, and he's trained over 14,000 students. Notice how many connections he has, almost 35,000. We're gonna come back and talk about that number here shortly. Now, being on LinkedIn, there's a lot of benefits. And I have been teaching with this number that 35% have benefited from being on LinkedIn. That number actually is now growing up to 60%. I didn't put that number on there yet until I see the actual details of the study to see if it really is a qualified, credible number. But it's definitely 35%. And you might ask yourself, well, why? Well, one thing is you can directly communicate with someone. You can send out messages to them, and then they can reply back so that you can directly connect. You can access target communities. And it's not just accessing target communities. Think about it. It's groups that have an affinity for one another pulled together. They're self-identifying your prospects. If you sell insurance, you'll have a group that comes together to talk about insurance. If you're putting together intellectual property, guess what? They're going to go to a group that talks about intellectual property. What's that? That's your prospects. So it's self-defining these groups that you can take advantage of. It builds stronger relationships. Not only does it build stronger relationships, but it also builds them quicker, faster, and better. And why is that? That's because, and is it Steve? Steven. Okay, I'm going to use Steven as an example. So if I go in and I look up Steven on his LinkedIn, I can read all about his background. He says he's from Arizona. Let's go see if he really is. Okay. He says he's got help desk experience. Let's go see. Let's read about this, right? And so then when I actually connect with him or send him an invitation or he sends me one, I've read about him. I know a little bit about him. He's probably read mine. And so when we decide to connect and we think it's a benefit, that first time we meet, it's not going to be a cold call. It's going to be, oh, hey, how's Tempe, you know? So it strengthens the bonding early on. It takes away from doing cold calls. Better, faster responses. I have 2 clients that over time has tested the theory that you can get better responses quicker and faster on LinkedIn than any other way. And here's their theory. By the way, one of them is with Siemens, selling fire and security products, devices to large corporations, hotels, that sort. So her theory is, you know, I've been hitting in the corporate world. And if you think about it, all of their outlooks every day when they come into work, I don't know about you, but when I was an executive, I'd walk in of a morning and I'd just like cringe when I'd turn on my Outlook and say, oh, there's 10,000 unread emails. It's just an ocean. You can't get to them, you can't process them. You're not going to have that many on LinkedIn. So you get a few per day. You get a few if you only go on once a week. And all of a sudden you start bubbling to the top and you get more recognized by that person. And they'll click on it and open it. So better, quicker, faster responses. She sold over $1 million just by skipping out. She wasn't getting into the prospect via email. She switched over to LinkedIn and she got in and closed $1 million. So that's great. Anything you do on LinkedIn is putting yourself out there, putting your marketing out there, going and putting your company, your business, your products, your services, whatever it is. So whatever you put on LinkedIn is only going to enhance what you've been doing so far. The difference is you've got a captured audience. That's that network that's already connected to you. So when you post something new or show a new product or whatever, you instantly get it to that group. Bottom line is, if you add up all of the items around the benefits, it reduces your time. It reduces time. When it reduces time, it reduces cost. It shortens your life cycle. like your sales cycle. It shortens that pipeline. And you know what? You have better qualified people prospects coming in your pipeline because you've checked them out in LinkedIn and disqualified them or qualified them. So you add all those up, and I would surpass to say that 60% is more right than the 35% of benefits in closing business. Now, how many of you guys are on Facebook? Active? Oh, most of the room, okay. And is it for your business? About half, okay, all right. Well, I don't know about you, but when I get on Facebook, I love it, but I also hate it. It's a love-hate relationship. You get on there and you click here and you click there and you go all around and you pick. At the end of a period of time, you have spent how long? And what have you seen? A bunch of pictures, a bunch of events coming up, a bunch of announcements, a lot of jokes, cartoons, whatever. But you probably didn't take steps in building your business like you should. Versus on LinkedIn, there is a methodology approach that you can go through that will make your efforts that you put in there, I call it return on investment. Well, guess what? It's return on invested time. It'll make you more efficient and productive. And so here's what I would propose to you. Start with your profile. Everybody's put up a profile, even when you got invited. You put up a profile, you put something out there, you filled out those fields. You know, they prompted you to plug this number, or plug this field, or plug this date, or whatever it is. LinkedIn just constantly is like, oh, you haven't filled out your education experience, or, you know, it's prompting you to fill out more. And why do you think it's doing that? It's wanting you to have a more robust look. The more robust look, the more you build trust, credibility. If I go and I look at somebody without a picture, I write them off. They're suspicious. Yeah. They may be from a foreign country or a robot. You know, I've reported those to LinkedIn, and by the way, LinkedIn will take them down within 24, 48 hours now. So
if you're foreign countries.
Pardon me?
You don't like anybody from foreign countries?
Oh, no. I didn't mean to say anybody from foreign countries. Oh, no. I looked at them.
Wrong.
If it's a blank picture,
Right.
I call it the ghost picture.
Uh-huh.
That's very suspicious. Not very many people will link with you or let you into their groups or whatever, because, you know, I can't see your eyes. I can't see your smile. I can't recognize, do I know you? I don't know. So, but what I was going to say is you're building up that credibility on your profile so that people will connect with you. So once you've done that, then the next step is to start building your network. Here's the number one biggest mistake people make, and I'm guilty of it too, so I'm here to be guilty with you. LinkedIn will, all of a sudden, after you've put some things into your profile, yeah, I see some grins. After you put some things in the profile, somewhere along the way, LinkedIn's smart enough to pop up this little pop-up and say, hey, would you like for me to invite some to your LinkedIn network? And so it will say, and I'm going to pick on Scott, is it? Michael. I'm going to pick on Michael now. Michael, so how many's in your Outlook or Hotmail or Gmail or?
Like contacts?
Hundreds, yeah.
Yeah, thousands.
Thousands.
Mm-hmm.
3,000? Is
Yeah.
that a good number?
Mm-hmm.
3,000. All right, so Michael's got 3,000 in his Gmail? Gmail, all right. So he's got 3,000 in his Gmail. And so he thinks, wow, that would take a long time for me to send out 3,000 invites. That would take forever. I would never get done. So LinkedIn's offering to do it for you for free. Just hit this button.
I've done it.
Don't hit that button.
Oh.
Do not hit that button.
I refuse to do that.
Do not hit that button. And here's why. If you hit that button, I don't know about you, but I have like 8,000 to 10,000 in my various different email accounts, contacts. And I guarantee you, I've got people in there that don't work at those companies anymore, but I still have their email addresses at them.
Yeah.
So those are dead ones.
I got some real dead ones.
I was going to just say, I have some real dead people in there too, I know. I have some people that are retired and are no longer in the business, so they could care less about LinkedIn. I have kids in there. They're not ready for LinkedIn yet. So you're wasting your invitations if you hit that button.
True.
You only get a maximum of 3,000 up until this year, and they've just upped the limits to 5,000. So take note of that. But once you're out, you're out. So if Michael hit that button, he would be out of invitations, and from this day forward could not go forward sending out invites. Now, lucky for you, they've raised it to 5,000, so you're getting another
That's not
2.
lifetime, that's just annual, right?
No, that is lifetime, forever.
So you're talking about
Forever.
invitations where I personally go in and I know someone and I want to invite them to my network. I met somebody and I think it'd be great for us to be connected.
Right. For
That's
those
what I'm
for those on Facebook Live, the question was, if I go in and I'm putting together an invitation I want to send to somebody I just met at a group like this, that's the max. Yes, that's the max.
Is that invitations or connections?
Oh.
2,000.
Okay, Michael asked, is that invitations or connections? Good point. I was just going to bring up, how did Mike O'Neill get to 34,000? That's
People invited him.
That's people inviting him. The actual maximum is actually 30,000 now. LinkedIn set new limits, so you can only accept 30,000. Now, there are pros and cons to having a large and a small network, and let me tell you, I'm not at the end where I just link and connect with everybody. I have a strategy of who I connect with and how and why. And some people we'll just say open to connecting. By the way, if you ever see, does anybody know what LION means?
LinkedIn open network.
LinkedIn Open Networker, yes. LION, you'll see LION in capital letters, and that means they will link with anybody, anywhere, anytime. And so it guarantees that if you send them an invite, they will accept you. Now, I don't know what they do when they hit that maximum limit. Guess what? They're going to have to go through their 30,000 and eliminate somebody if they want to let you in. So that's the problem of having a large network. Okay, so let's go to the next piece here. On the networking side, there are 9 different highways to get to a prospect. Most people only think about the invitation or accepting of an invitation or maybe following somebody on an article or something like that. But there are actually 9 highways to get to a prospect, and I'm always talking about the free in what I talk about. I teach all about the free. I believe in learning the free first before going to the premium. So there's more than 9 if you're going premium. And then I call it applications. This is really like an add-on or something extra special that makes you stand out and differentiates you in LinkedIn. And then last but not least is searching. This is my absolute favorite part about LinkedIn. The value and the quality of the search results depends on how good of an effort you have put into your profile and your network. And most people don't get that. If you have I call it a wimpy profile, like barely there, like if you look at your competition, you look at yours and you see lots of white space on yours and you see lots of really good, strong, marketing, robust words, guess what? If you've got that wimpy, then you're going to get wimpy search results. But you don't know you're getting those wimpy search results. Why? Because everybody on the free basic gets 100 free returned. 10 pages, 10 on each page, and you think you've got the best. Well, not really. Think about it. If you've got in your profile healthcare, health insurance, health whatever else in that industry, if you've got that filled up with keywords that actually draws attention to your profile, then that's what makes that engine, that search engine on the right, go stronger. Why is that search engine the best in the world? Maybe not the best. Maybe I should correct myself. What's the #1 search engine in the world? Google. Everybody knows that. What's the #2 search engine in the world? Bing, no.
LinkedIn.
LinkedIn, no. I wished it was.
Yahoo.
Yahoo, no.
YouTube.
Or YouTube.
YouTube, finally. YouTube, yes. All right, so Google and Google and YouTube were 2 of the 25 partners that took LinkedIn through their IPO. It was the best IPO since Google had went through their IPO 10 years prior. So those are 2 of the 25, and that's what LinkedIn is running on. Now, we know now Google owns YouTube, but that's what makes the search results on the right so good. So I'm going to ask if you hold the questions to the end, just so we don't run out of time, because I know we're on a set time here. So the point is the stronger you make the left two, the better results you get out the right side. And how do you make it stronger? You know, I mentioned a few things like adding words, and I used an example of health. But what is your real strategy? What's your strategy on not only in your profile, but what's your strategy in going through your network? Do you have one? Most people don't. Most people just, oh, I've got an invitation. Wow, I think I'll accept. Well, that's not having a strategy. Sitting back and not knowing, how are you attracting people to your business? What are you doing to attract them in? I like to say, are you waving the carrot? What's the carrots look like? What are you really doing to get them in? Or have you just simply loaded a description of your business or a description of yourself and your products and your services out there? You've got to make it enticing, and you got to make them want to connect with you or follow you or enjoy your articles or whatever. So then the second part is, the first part's all about attracting. Second part's all about targeting. Salespeople love to skip the first part I just talked about. It's like, yeah, I don't need that. Yeah, I just want to go out there and I want to go send invites and go connect and I want to go get to my market and I want to just close deals. Or I want to go get those leads and I want to pass them to my sales force and let them go chase them. You know? Well, guess what? I just explained to you why that won't work. You got to be credible both here, and onward. And you have to differentiate yourself from the 500,000 or 500 million on LinkedIn. This number here, companies 14.8 and groups 1.8 million, those are the two fastest growing segments of LinkedIn. And I update those numbers every time I teach, every time I present, always. But that's those groups I was talking about that have pulled together that affinity of people interested in whatever the services are or whatever. Like, for example, if you're selling vitamins and that sort, you're going to look for groups that are into nutrition and diets and that sort of groups to go join. Here are some other ways to get to people and go target. This is an interesting number. 40% check their LinkedIn nearly daily. That number for years was only like 22%. So it has jumped a lot. If you think about the number of extra profiles out there on LinkedIn, people who have duplicates, so they're not checking them every day, that really makes that number a whole lot higher. So I'm proud to see that number going up.
Mobile has a lot to do with that.
Mobile has a lot to do with that, yeah. We passed over, I think it was in February or March, we passed over the mark, and now it's 51% mobile transactions on LinkedIn, and only 49% on your desktop. Okay, so we've talked about thinking strategic, going for the opportunities. How do you attract someone to you? So this is the equivalent of the profile, and so you need to think, it's not your resume, it's not where I just shove things into fields, it's where I need to think strategically about how do I plant that hook to get my prospects to pull them in and want to work with me. So think of it as a free billboard. It's free, it's white space, and it's for you to be creative. It's not for you to load in your chronological history of I did this, I did that, then I did this in my history, yada yada, yan, 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 yan. Nobody cares, especially for those of you in IT in here. If it's some old database that doesn't exist anymore, you know, back in the dinosaur ages, that's not gonna get you any excited, you know, recruiter to come after you or the next person to bring you on board on their team. You have to think of it as being a free website, okay? It's the same as a real website. You have to keep it fresh. The more fresh you keep it, the more it's at the top. If you leave it stagnant, you're not going to get any hits. You're not going to come up in anything. And I told you that it's fully it's searchable on LinkedIn. It's also searchable from outside, whether it be the Bings or the Googles or whatever. The better your profile is, everybody needs to write this down. Go Google yourself. See if you're on page 1 or 2. Now, if you have a name like Mike Smith, okay, you may not ever make it to page 1 or 2, but you can sure push yourself to. Google your company name and see where you're at. Okay? All right, the other thing is LinkedIn has all of those suggestive tools. As you go into a page, you see over on the different sides, I call them the ribbons on the page, you see, oh, why don't you join this group, or why don't you join that group, or maybe you also know this person, or whatever. It's trying to help you connect the dots, and sometimes that brings in other people in the same type of position, like the prospects you've just sold to. So how important is that? Very important. This is my one page that says it all. I love this page. Basically, it says you're trying to attract with keywords, building that credibility. How do you do it? You build your SEO, search engine optimization magnet. And by the way, this graphic's supposed to be a magnet. And you put your best marketing on it. And what are you going after? You're going after a database like that. Average income is over $109,000 per year. Is that somebody you'd like to do business with? It's an individual? Yeah. It's the #1 business professional network in the world, so there is none other like it. So where else would you go? Now, one of the things that LinkedIn also does for us is relate members to members, relates companies to other sub-companies underneath it, or divisions, or affiliates. It relates people, what groups they're in, or if you're in a group, it tells you who are the members. Companies can sponsor groups. This whole thing, the example I walked you through, that's only 3 entities, but LinkedIn is full of these, and these are the things that people are not taking advantage of. They're just sending invites. So it's really up to you to think through, how are you doing with your prospecting? I had to explain to the millennials what that center icon was up there. This is a Rolodex, and I'm guilty. I have several of these. But in the old-fashioned days, we'd go out and we would meet up like this, and we'd collect business cards, and we write on the back of it, you know, I met the guy in the red shirt, you know, and he's just here from Arizona. And then I'd go home and I'd tape it in the right place in the Rolodex, and probably lose it from there on, because 6 months later I couldn't remember his name to know where in those Rolodexes to look it up. So my question to you guys is, when are we going to quit thinking that way and use LinkedIn? Because I can go and search on LinkedIn so much quicker and faster than that old paper stuff. And even if you think you're automated and you've loaded it in your Outlook or whatever, guess what? LinkedIn not only connects you to that person, but also their whole network, the groups they're in, the companies that they've been with, the last picture that I just showed you. So you really need to think differently on LinkedIn. And I love to work through this, but in the short time that we have left, I'm going to sort of skip through this. All right? What you're trying to do is not just connect with this first person. When you look at that first person, you really want to look at who's in their network. Because if I'm really trying to get to this third person, I have to work through this. And that starts with building a relationship with this one to get to that one, to that one. Now in face-to-face meetings, I only get to look at that person. Like when I look at Zip, I see Zip, I look at him and I say, oh, I don't know, do I want to link with you? Maybe, I don't know. But I don't get to interview him and ask, well, who's in your network? I need to meet the CEO of Southwest Airlines, or I need to meet the CEO of American Airlines. Is he in your network? And Zip would probably say, none of your business. But on LinkedIn, I can check it out, and I can get my strategy going to figure out how to get in there. All right, so a long time ago, at one point I had about 871 connections. Those are people directly connected to me, one-on-one. All right, in my network, that meant I could get to 13 million. I am now at 26 or 2,700 probably now, and I can get to more than 26 million. So if somebody in here asks me, hey, do you think you could connect me with the CEO of Southwest Airlines? Sure. You know, out of 26 million, maybe. Let me go look. I don't know, but maybe I might be able to get you there. True story, Dallas Business Journal. I actually demoed that in front of a group a little bit larger than this. So, here's the takeaways I want you to think about. First is, what is your strategy? Do you have one? And it's all along those yellow chevrons that I showed you up there. Not just your profile, it's also how you interact. The 9 highways to get there. And then, are you using it for business development or career development? How does that change your strategy? By the way, how many of you guys are salespeople?
We're all salespeople.
Everybody needs to put their hand up. Everybody needs to put their hand up. We are all selling ourselves. We're selling into our next career. We're selling into our peers to give us testimonials and build up our credibility. Every day you are selling yourself. I used to think I didn't. And then I got straightened out. And then how do you turn this into a plan? Something that'll get you there. So how can you be strategic? When I say strategic, well, let me go through what it's not first. Does anybody use the smartphone, use their LinkedIn on their smartphone?
Yep.
Okay, caution, caution, caution. Feel free to use it to look people up and research and read about them and all of that. Be very, very cautious, like I say, don't do it, of sending any invites or accepting on your cell phone. And why is that? Typos. Many people just hit the accept. No personalization of the message. Mistake number 2, lost opportunity. If you just hit accept and you haven't went in to read about them and send them a polite message back, are they going to remember you? No, you were a 1-second tap of accept on the button. So I recommend doing the desktop or being very careful. Typos are the first thing to eliminate you, just like back in the resume days. All right, we talked about loading your resume to your profile. We talked about letting LinkedIn, don't let LinkedIn send out those invites. And one thing is people are timid when they first get on LinkedIn. That's okay, get on there, learn what the business etiquette is, learn from the groups, what's expected in a group, what's not expected in a group. Because the last thing you want to do is get shut out of the group. Okay, last but not least, you've got, let's see, I've covered all those, right?
Right.
Yep, all right, good. Okay, your profile is your marketing material, so it should be forward thinking. If you've got something historical on there, think about making it forward thinking. The other thing is, and although this is a screen print of the old profile, it's still the best way to show that your contact information's out there. There's nothing like reading a profile and getting to the bottom and there's no way to contact them. You'd like to send an invite. Well, if you don't have an email, you can't, right? Most of the time. So, number 1, put all of your contact information on there. Secondly, don't live in a myth thinking that I loaded my contact information on there and everybody can see it. That's not true either. If they're first tier connected, sure, they can see it. If they're not going to see it. So you need it in more than one place. We've talked about never making a cold call again. That's after you learn enough about that person. Then you're going to walk in and you're going to talk about something you have in common together. And therefore, it's an icebreaker. Okay, I know I have at least one job seeker in the room, right? Okay. For the rest of you, you guys are all, I assume, business owners. Okay. What's better than just a set of skills and being on LinkedIn? It's having somebody actually take the time to make a recommendation for you, right? The same is true on LinkedIn. The biggest difference is 1, it's really hard to do. 2, it takes a long time. 3, it is more credible than anything else I would propose. Because when that recommendation is right there on your profile, it's the words that they say, next to it is that person's picture, and the viewer can click on the person's picture or they can click on their title and say, is this a qualified person to even make a comment like that? You know, a long time ago we put it in cover letters or whatever if someone said, oh, this is really good. Well, now it's, guess what? You can see it, click on it, and validate it. So that is stronger than any others. Everything I've said about individual profiles and that sort apply to companies. There's other information out there. I'm sure you guys have seen it. How many of you guys have your company page out there? 4?
In LinkedIn?
In LinkedIn. Company page?
Well, mine. I am the person. I am the company.
Oh, that's your individual. Okay, so that doesn't count. 4. All right, that's not enough. You guys need to think about it. It's a free website. Doesn't cost you anything, and you get attractions. So now I want to go into what's new this year. LinkedIn started deploying it January through March 31st, and one of the biggest changes, and I know we were talking about this earlier before we started, is the navigation path. The menu screens all changed. The very first few months, everybody was reacting, saying, well, this is gone, this is gone, this is gone. I can't find anything. Well, guess what? A few things truly were gone. Most of the things that I researched were just somewhere else, somewhere you didn't expect them to be. So whoever redesigned the navigation path, well, let's just not say, maybe wasn't thinking straight. But it's quote unquote from the product architect, it was a strategy to get closer to the mobile look and feel. So that's the rationale that drove this big upset for us. I have seen some things come back over time. I'm going to show you an example in a minute. One of the cool things is, you know, when people read a message that you've put out there, that's new. Some areas have been collapsed. Summary, experience and education, that's all been collapsed. You don't have as long of a section. You also, I just learned this like last week, you also are not allowed to have as many media attachments. Like I used to have PDFs, brochures, pictures, my TV shows, my podcasts. I'd have 30 something under my summary. You're now evidently limited to 7. So that's what I now have under mine. The other thing is I went through and I lost some things. So if any of you guys are living in the false pretense, believing that this was just a rollout and it's all software oriented, go look for, and I'm going to point out some things to you. I know phone number and address are 2 of the things that I know off the top of my head that came off. Interest, they rolled them all together. There used to be a field called interest. That field has disappeared. That is completely gone. Then they've rolled these 4 together at the bottom, so you actually have to click across the tabs. So you think you're looking at influencers, but there's really 3 more sections there that you can go to. These accomplishments, some of these are still rolled together. Some of these are harder to find. They're over on the top right side, and you have to pull them down to get to them. Now, if you already had them in there before the transition, they're most likely still in there. Mine are. Backgrounds resized. If anybody went to the effort to design a nice banner or background, you know, that's the top of the profile, well, they squished it, so the sizing's different, so you might go and check and see if your head got cut off or any of your labels or marketing info. The visuals, they're now on a carousel, so really when your profile comes up, those first 3 that they see, those are the most important. You know, used to, you could see 5, and then scroll down and see more, and they keep opening up, and you can see, like for me, 30 some. Well, now you got to define what are the most important 7, and what are those 2 most important out of there to put first. And then you can select which endorsements. How many of you are familiar with the 6,000 Linda courses? No? You might want to take that as an idea. There are over 6,000, the courses are called Linda, and they're on the basics. You know, Excel, Word, PowerPoint, QuickBooks, things like that that are out there. All kinds of marketing courses and things that can help you with your business. This is my favorite, and this just happened June 8th. The new user agreement came out. Prior to June 8th, I always taught never, ever, ever put your phone number or your email in your summary, because in LinkedIn's agreement, it was a violation to put it anywhere other than where it is a contact field. That is now obsolete. And so now, because I mentioned earlier, there's a place to put those phone numbers and contact information, but it doesn't show unless you're first year connected. So now I am now a proponent of putting it in your summary. And within groups, there's different classifications of spamming. So if you ever hit a message that says you've been classified, penalized, you're going to be put on hold. You won't be able to participate in the groups anymore. So be careful that you, in LinkedIn, you can do marketing. You cannot do overt selling, and that's when you'll get penalized. My address, I mentioned, got deleted. I had to go back in and re-add it. If you ever get an InMail, it's got a special little icon on it so that you know it's different than just a normal InMail or just a normal message coming in. So it is one of those things, I call them the $11 thing because it costs approximately $11 to send one of those. They've paid big bucks to get that to you. But the easy thing is now is you've got a way to hit the reply button or no thanks. Next, thumbs up, you've probably seen that. And tells you about jobs coming up, and there's showcases to show either your service or your products. Once again, those are free websites. Okay? I want you guys to write this down. This is a way for you to go check and do a self-check on yourself and find out what's your number, what's your selling index. All right, so you'll see mine's 79 out of 100. I'm in the top 1% in my industry. However, I'm only in the top 3% in my network. Well, guess what? I'm probably competing with the Michael Neals and those sort that are a little above me. But it gives you information on how you're doing and where you need to beef up.
And it changes daily.
Right.
Yes, it does. Somehow it's dynamic about what you're doing or not doing. All right, so we've talked a bit about the norm. Here's where I'd like to encourage you guys. Work on your profile. It's not just basic, it's important. And that's what drives your traffic or repels them. You can drive them or repel them. Normally, once a person works on their profile, they will increase their traffic to them, the attraction rate, by 44%. After they've optimized it, and I'm talking about adding the keywords, the SEO, really strengthening it out, they can optimize it as much as 700%, and this is from a LinkedIn study that's just been completed. Okay, and down here on targeting, people normally will only open at an open rate of about 20%. With LinkedIn, you build the credibility, you build your profile up, you build your credible network, and guess what? You're going to increase your open rate to 40 to 60%. Okay, these next 3 slides are a self-assessment you guys can go ask me for. Send me an email and ask me for the checklist. I'll give it to you. And there's 10 questions, and you can figure out what your score is on LinkedIn. And that cute little picture on the side was just a little humor. If you clean up your act, if you stop looking through rose-colored glasses and you clean up your act, you finally can optimize your profile. Okay. All right, so that's the last of the questions. And here, I just want to close with inviting you guys, if you want to connect with me, feel free to reach out, connect with me, but tell me how you met me. So if you're on Facebook Live, tell me you saw me on Facebook Live. If you're here in the room with us, let me know. I'd be glad to link with you. One of my strategies is I don't link with strangers unless they give me a reason. And if anyone's interested, I've got some training classes coming up. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Dave.
Thanks, Lucinda. That was awesome.
All right,
Appreciate
thank you.
it. That was, we do have time for a couple questions, but not much. So yeah. Lloyd.
Okay, so you indicated that your profile determined the results that you get. How does that interact? Because, you know, if I'm looking for, say, someone that is motivated or self-motivated, does that have to be those words have to be in my profile as well, or?
Well, I don't know about the word self-motivated, if that's something you'd be
Well,
looking
I'm
for,
just picking numbers.
well, I'm saying, like, let's just pick on manufacturing. If you're looking for someone in manufacturing and you have a manufacturing background, your results are going to have more manufacturing people come back in those search results.
Oh, okay.
Because
So it relates.
It can be positional too. I have premium, and I can look at and see who's searching, who finds me, who searches for me.
Okay.
I might say I want to look at any CEO that's been looking for somebody like me, whatever. There's a lot of things, but you only find that if you only get those kind of search pops if your profile's built out.
right.
Okay, Steve.
Okay, Steve?
Hey, Lucinda, on that link that you have for the sales SSI, is that for your personal page, or will that also work for the corporate page too? Will it provide you analytics on both, or is it just personal?
It's only on the personal page.
Okay.
Yeah, but you do get other analytics over on the company page.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, I will admit I'm very green with it, but sometimes you'll get a request to link with somebody that maybe is in another state or has nothing that I think is in common with me, short of just going, no, thank you, I think you're a pervert. How do you qualify? How do you qualify that person, or know that it's a valid request?
You look at their profile.
Yeah, you read through their profile, that's for sure. Within my training classes, that's really kind of 20 minutes of answering, because I talk about networking and how to get the introduction, get in the door, and then we talk about how do you qualify those leads, because each person will come up with their own reason to qualify or disqualify a person. Like, for me, I'm looking for business owners.
Mm-hmm.
So if they reach out to me and they're not a business owner, or they're not in business development, I'm sort of like, well, why are you reaching out to me?
Right.
Now, they may be a job seeker too, coming after me because of LinkedIn. But beyond that, then, like, for example, when I get invites from a foreign country, I'm like, how do you know me and how did we meet? 9 times out of 10, they won't answer the question and they'll run away. And so that's an easy way to disqualify them. A few times, though, because I've done global work, a few times they've surprised me and I'm like, oh, yeah,
Sure.
I do know you. I mean, remotely, but I do.
What's the downside to saying yes to somebody like you just described?
It depends on how private you want to be. It depends. A lot of people are worried about identity theft and all of that. So those might be some concerns that some people have.
Just curious.
For me,
Because I say no occasionally too.
yeah, for me, because my background's outsourcing, I have a lot in India and that's where, because I worked over there. So I may be more comfortable. And oftentimes they outsource marketing information, and I'm looking for that in what I do with the LinkedIn. So depends. It kind of varies on that.
It's great, guys. I think we're going to have to wrap here because we're getting close to the 1 o'clock, and I don't want to be abusive of the people online or you guys in the room. But let's give Lucinda a hand. This has been awesome. Obviously, she has her information there. She's put it on the slides. If you want to reach out to her, that's what this was about. Obviously, she's got a lot to offer, and I really do appreciate you taking the time with this. It's been very educational to me. I always learn something when we're with Lucinda. So thank you again. And again, she's got a workshop coming up, I think, right?
October the 12th.
October 12th. So there's one coming up. So if you really want to take this and run with this, I can't tell you how important it is for me for you to be on LinkedIn if you want me to help you, regardless of what role you're in, because I do look at your profile. I do get background information. If I'm going to meet with somebody, sometimes if I can't remember exactly what it was, and I've got a one-on-one and I go to a restaurant, guess what I do? I pull up their LinkedIn profile on my phone. I'm like, oh, that's what he looks like. Okay, yeah, I remember. And seriously, I mean, it's a very powerful tool. So if you don't think people of influence are using it, or you don't think it's worth your time, no matter what business you're in, I would say you're mistaken.
Exactly,
right? Okay.
Exactly.
So
and I do slow down in training class.
Yeah.
You guys bring your laptops and you watch me, and so we take it a lot slower.
As we
than
say,
this.
this was 10 pounds in a 5-pound bag.
That's
so
right.
We definitely have got it. But anyway, again, I appreciate you taking the time. Appreciate those on Facebook Live. We've got another training next Friday, and I don't have the information on that yet, so I'll be getting that to you by Wednesday, probably before. We have our mixer coming up on the 19th of October, should be on the calendar, and our next meeting is next Wednesday. So awesome. You network at will. Any other questions, everybody? We got all that, so let's go out and build our LinkedIn profiles. All right.